we're not gonna go there. I'm still kind of triggered, clearly. Hey you guys, it's Ifeyinwa and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. I recently made a TikTok discussing this topic and I was like, I need to film this for my YouTube fam because you guys need this information too. So as you can see from the title of today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to find a great loctician, not just any loctician, but a great loctician. I have had the great fortune of working with two amazing loctician salons, companies, I don't know what the right terminology is, but I wanted to come on here and just share some knowledge, and I really want this video to be a resource for people that are thinking about locking their hair and they don't know where to start. So if you have any locticians that you have worked with or are working with currently and you recommend them, please leave their name and their contact information and the city that you are in, or the city that they are in rather, in the comment section below so that we can have people refer to this video if they're looking for locticians in their area. So I will start off by saying I have an entire MICROLOCS playlist. If you're interested in learning anything about my journey and my hair, that is definitely where I would recommend starting. I had my locks installed by a company called Any Braids. They are a mobile loctician company based in Lagos, Nigeria, and I maintain my locks at the moment at the Just You Hair Boutique in Enfield in London, and I've had incredible experiences with both companies. So let's get into how to find a loctician. When I initially was looking to lock my hair, I think it was in 2019. Ever since then, so many things have changed and this community has grown so much more now. But back then, the number one place that anyone would start would be the Sisterlocks Registry. Even though I don't have Sisterlocks, it's still a valuable resource whether you have Sisterlocks or not, because a lot of Sisterlocks locticians are also able to do hair that's technically not Sisterlocks. So I'll have the registry linked down below. So the Sisterlocks Registry is great because it lists certified locticians and it also lists trainees. Trainees don't have as much experience, but they have still undergone the same training. More times than not, they are way more affordable than actually certified locticians. So definitely, if you're on a budget, consider looking at the trainee section. Regardless, make sure you pay attention to the advice in the rest of the video, because all the advice that I'm going to give you still applies whether they are certified trainees or not, okay? So first place to start is the Sisterlocks Registry. Then you want to filter by your location. That is how the registry is divided, so it makes it super easy. Depending on where you are in the world, you may have it broken down in as much detail as even city, location, so you can get really specific. So it's really easy. I just basically worked with the area that I was comfortable to travel to, and I called every single loctician that was in my area. So there's a lot of research that's involved in finding a great loctician, as I'm sure you can appreciate. So back then, there were not as many options. The cool thing to note though is ever since then, a lot of the locticians that I've actually visited from that registry are no longer on the register. So a lot of them have kind of pulled away from the Sisterlocks Registry because it costs money to be on that registry. So bear that in mind. Just because a loctician isn't on the registry doesn't mean they're not good. Another place to find locticians is obviously Instagram. Instagram is now a great place to find businesses. So I have definitely done that. Go into the search tab and I would search for loctician and the city that you're in. That's how I found loads of great locticians as well. The great thing about Instagram is you can actually follow hashtags. So let's say you're in Sydney, Australia. You can literally follow the hashtag loctician Sydney, loctician Australia, MICROLOCS Australia. People start new businesses every single day. So follow these hashtags and maybe someone will pop up in your city sooner rather than later. And of course, Google. Google is always a great resource. Now we have a long list of locticians. How do we weed them out? I will literally call these locticians up, and I had a long list of questions to ask them, and I'll just run through some of them because I actually still have these notes on my phone. So the first thing that I would ask them is how many installations have they done. I was trying to get an idea of how experienced they were, and in all honesty, I didn't really know what I was looking for. But if someone told me that they had done 10 installations versus 100, obviously I would feel more comfortable going with the person that had done 100. So that's kind of what I was trying to gauge. And then of course the most important thing skill. First thing I ask for is pictures. You can never have enough pictures. I want to see your work. So the great thing about Instagram is you can already see their work. Like if they have an Instagram, they'll have pictures. But if you are finding a loctician through Google, or let's say their website doesn't have a lot of pictures, or you found them on the Sisterlocks Registry, which at the time had no pictures or very little information, I will literally call these locticians up. Not only do I want to see your work of people that you've done fresh installs on, I want to see the work of people that you are maintaining their locks over the years. I want to see if all of your clients have lost their edges. We're laughing, but they're very, very important. Like how healthy is your client's hair over the years? So when I look at pictures personally, I'm looking for symmetry. And by symmetry, I mean, are the lines straight? So are they straight from ear to ear? Are they straight from the center of your head to the back of your head? Are all of your locks lining up? Because I think that is when you can really tell the skill level of a loctician, when you get those super crispy grids. I look for tidiness as well. Like, does it look like there's uniformity along the lock, or some locks like big at the top and skinny in the middle, or some locks bigger than the other? Another good question to ask is how many rotation methods do they do? Things like that, in my opinion, again, speak to the skill level of the actual loctician. Now, if you're dealing with a trainee, they obviously won't have as many pictures to show you. That's something that you will have to decide whether it is important to you or not. I would definitely judge their manner over the phone. I feel like when you talk to someone over the phone, you can get a really good idea for what their personality is like. Are they warm? Are they friendly? I would obviously tell them I'm thinking about locking my hair. Usually, like, the response to that is also a really good indication as to whether they're passionate about locks, or if they're just like, you know, I don't really care, I just got the training. Like, you can definitely tell by how they engage you. And obviously, if you speak to someone who is super rude, then right off the bat, no. If they're telling you, oh, why are you asking me all these questions? I don't have time for this conversation. Like, just take them off your list. Obviously, bear in mind that locticians are very, very busy. So before you start running through, 15 different questions, confirm that it's a good time with them to talk. If they say that they're busy, ask them, can I call you at a different time? Like, I just have a few questions to ask you, things like that. Obviously, just be polite. I'm sure you guys already know how to talk to strangers over the phone. Professionalism. There was actually a loctician that it took me forever to speak to this loctician. When I tell you, I called, I emailed, I damn near went to her space, okay, trying to get a hold of this woman. I really wanted to work with her because she was really close to where I used to live at the time, and there weren't too many options. And when I tell you, it took me almost like a year to eventually get a hold of her. And it wasn't the best experience, respectfully. That professionalism comes across in the way people respond to you, how they come back to you, what their booking process is like. Like, is it all streamlined and efficient, or is it really haphazard? I would also ask about calendar availability, because for me, I think that is something that people definitely overlook. Let me give you an example. If you're the kind of person who works a 9 to 5 and your schedule is super hectic, you will want either evening appointments or weekend appointments. That's something that's really important to check from the very beginning, especially if you're looking for a loctician to do your reties, because that will happen on a regular basis. If the loctician tells you something like, I don't work weekends, it's really important to make sure that your schedules align. And another thing I've found out as well is that the best locticians are booked way in advance. So if you're trying to join their roster and they have very little availability, you have to be super flexible. If you're the kind of person that works for yourself or you work remotely, then great. Another thing that I also considered as well was the actual environment. In Lagos, I don't have this issue at all because any braids are mobile, so they will come to me, which honestly is like best case scenario. But if that is not possible and I'm sitting in your salon for 3, 4, 5 hours at a time, which I have had reties take that long in the past, then I want to make sure that it is a comfortable environment. I don't want this to sound like an ad for Just You. I promise you, like, I pay for my reties. They don't pay me to talk about them. But honestly, I just think that they go above and beyond to make sure that their salon is warm. And by warm, I don't mean like temperature wise, I mean warm as in it's just a welcoming environment. They know that lots of people are working, so they now have these like little mobile desks set up so you can work comfortably, and just little things like that. I just really think it's top-notch customer service. Oh, another thing I forgot to speak to, of course, is price. By the time I had finished calling about 3 or 4 locticians, I started to get a feel for what the average price was in my city and in my area. People that were extortionate, or if I couldn't afford it, more importantly, I would just take them off my list. Another thing that also helped me to disqualify locticians were if they were too cheap. Now, this wouldn't apply to trainees because obviously trainees will be cheaper, but within the certified umbrella, in my experience, if someone is too cheap, there's usually a reason for that. I've tried to cut corners with it. I don't think it's worth it in the end. Apologies, my memory card ran out of space, but basically what I was saying is being cheaper isn't always better. So that's something to also bear in mind as well. I have tried to save money in the past by going to other locticians, and honestly, that's why for the most part, I'm really careful with who I recommend. Like, I'm fine to take a risk with my personal hair, but I'm never gonna come on here and recommend a loctician unless I'm really confident in the level of work that they do. On the price point as well, I've noticed that locticians charge differently, and I want to speak to this. So some locticians would charge based on the time frame in between your last retie. So Any Braids does this. If you retie at 6 weeks, they charge one price. If you retie at 8 weeks, they charge slightly more. I have found here in the UK, they charge based on how long it takes them to do your hair. Most people have a standard retie time of 3 hours, and then they charge you for every additional hour. I honestly don't think that model is fair, because now I'm being charged based on how fast or slow the loctician is. I have gone to locticians who I think personally have been intentionally slow because they're trying to rack up that extra time. It's not nice when things like that happen. So definitely make sure that you are bearing that in mind. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I have been to a number of locticians here in London that I just have not disclosed because I didn't have the best experience. So we're not gonna go there. I'm still kind of triggered, clearly. And then my last point, of course, is reviews. Ultimately, none of what I've said to you is as valuable as someone giving you their personal feedback on a loctician. Like, let me tell you a little bit of a story time. When I initially had zoned in on Any Braids, I actually think I found them on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. I had spoken to the owner, I had a consultation with her, I felt very comfortable with her. I had scrutinized every single photo that was on her Instagram at the time. Like, this was back when Any Braids had maybe like 2,000 followers, so it wasn't a big company at all. I went through every single photo. Honestly, how God works is actually so interesting. I was checking her page like daily because I was trying to decide whether I wanted to book her or not. And something happened along the line, and she ended up posting someone on her page who I actually knew, like we went to school together. And I DM'd her instantly, and I'm like, oh my God, I saw that you just got your hair installed by Any Braids. Do you mind telling me what your experience was like? And she sent me back a paragraph this long with nothing but praises. She's like, you know, they were professional, they came on time, I love my hair, they were fast. Like, all she did was say great things. Like, honestly, that for me made me book Any Braids. So nothing is as valuable as a personal recommendation. And I'm sure that's why so many of you guys have gone to Any Braids and so many of you guys have gone to Just You. And both of these companies have told me that, you know, so many of you guys have come based off of my recommendation. So let's say you're in a city where you don't know anyone. Go on Google reviews. There are communities of us everywhere around the world. Try looking for communities on Facebook, and by communities I mean Facebook groups, and see if you can talk to people in similar areas to you and get their opinions on different locticians. I know so many people are gonna come and tell me, you know, I live in a really remote city, there are no locticians in my area. I have had people tell me that, and I've gone and found locticians in their area. You just have to be willing to work, and you have to be willing to do the research. If they're not on Instagram, check TikTok. If they're not on TikTok, check Facebook. If they're not on Facebook, just scour the internet. And let me tell you, this community is growing, and it is growing so fast. So it's only a matter of time before someone comes to the most remote village in the world where you live to do your hair. And if all fails, you might have to learn how to do your own hair. I'm sorry. So I hope you guys found this video useful. Like I said, please don't forget to tag your locticians in the comments, of course only if you recommend them. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me, and I will catch you guys in my next video very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Stay blessed, stay safe, and take care. Bye.